What up, world? This is the GoalNet. Today's video is focusing on the new CCM Premier 2 Pro composite goalie stick, and got some other sticks here as data points to reference our stick against. As always, my sticks are taped with black tape. Let's go black tape bandits. So the sticks we've got that we'll be kind of doing the comparison on today's video are the 1S, the Total One NXG, the Warrior Cr1, the Sherwood Bpm 150, and the CCM Premier 2. So from the Warrior over to the left, those three sticks are current model sticks versus the two Bauers on the right are basically sticks that will no longer be in production unless you're a pro player very shortly. In about a month, the 1S will be replaced by the 2S, and then obviously the NXG hasn't been made in about 2 years, but still really relevant data points. Even though the NXG is a 2014 model, it would still be in the running for the lightest stick on the market if it was newly released here in 2018. So my old NXG has a broken blade, but still a great data point for some of these videos. So I like to include that. And again, all the tape sticks, the ones I'm currently using in the mix, these are all models that will be carried over through the 2018 product line. And the CCM P2 actually isn't quite out in stores yet, but will be released shortly. So for anybody that watched the unboxing video, I was fortunate enough to get a whole Premier 2 demo set. So I do have the pads, gloves, and blockers. So stay tuned for some more content around that. And we do have the scale out today. So I'll also get some weights, and it's my lovely assistant Winston there up on the top right. So let's dive in. First things first, got my butt ends knob on here. Oh, looks like we got a little gash in that one. The new Premier 2 stick has the Sigmatex fiber running through the whole stick. It might be a little bit tricky, but both CCM and Bauer for the 2018 product line are gonna have a top end stick with the nomenclature Pro, and then a stick below that with the same name without the Pro moniker. So this is the Premier 2 Pro goalie stick. There is also a Premier 2 stick, and the biggest difference between those will be the carbon fiber composite makeup of them, which will change a little bit between the weight and price point of the stick. And then as well in Bauer world, they will have the Bauer will have the Supreme 2S Pro and the Supreme 2S. And there, the big difference, I believe, will be materials and the ergo spine on the back. Check out some of the other goalie accounts like Kane Van Gate or Goalie Gear Nerd. They currently have those sticks, and I'm sure they'll make some great content with them. So as we go down, the Sigmatex logo is right there. We've got a grip here in the middle of the stick. These candy cane stripes here are actually slightly ribbed as well. So you've got the grip texture here, which I'm a huge fan of. I went away from the tape on the grips because of that. And then there's a little bit of a tactile grip because of the candy cane stripes. And then the grip stops right here actually with the candy cane, so there's no grip in this area. And then again, we see the large, wide Sigmatex fibers, and then the Sigmatex fades into a white. And of course, I'm a huge fan of the black tape bandits, so got a rep and got black tape on this. So when we do the weights today, they are gonna be off by a few grams here or there. That's why I have one of my older Russian grips. We can throw that on the scale first just to kind of gauge how much extra weight we're adding. Unfortunately, just not worth the effort of taking all the knobs off the sticks now that I use the rubber style grips. All right, so let's dive in and check out. All right, so we got the scale out. We will keep it in grams today, a little bit easier with this many data points to go through in grams. Also will give us kind of a bigger disparity. But as you can see, this grip adds about 40 grams to the stick. So when we do the CCM, the Sherwood, or the Warrior, we need to subtract about 40 grams off of the stick weight there, just to keep everything apples to apples. So the first stick we're gonna go through and throw on the scale is the old NXG. Again, this stick is a 2014 model stick. Still actually pretty commonly used in the NHL. If you follow my account, you'll know I point out a lot of guys still using this stick. It's very popular. Guys like the feel of the Inegra fibers, and honestly, pros don't really like changing gear if they don't need to. So guys that were happy with the the NXG stick, didn't really need to rush out and try the 1S. Trick with weighing the Bauer, even though it's a nice light balanced stick, is just the paddle isn't perfectly round, so it's a little bit tough to get it perfectly balanced on the scale. But as you can see, we're coming in, moved it a few different times just to make sure we're balanced, and we're coming in at 710 grams. So again, the NXG stick still very popular in the pros, and it honestly is a great stick. If I picked this up on the rack today, I would have no problem buying this. I mean, the balance is phenomenal. And one of the biggest differentiators I think in sticks right now is kind of I don't know if it's actually a design approach, but it's just kind of how I personally interpret it. And the Bauer Supreme line of sticks feel like a maximum utilization of carbon fiber stick design or composite stick design. I guess carbon fiber is not the proper name when we have advanced fibers like Inegra or Signatex in our sticks. But the paddles on the Bauer sticks always feel very, very light, and the stick almost feels weightless in your hand. So yeah, they almost feel weightless in your hand, and it's a pretty impressive design. Versus some of the other sticks on the market, I'd say feel a bit more like a traditional foam core paddle stick, where you notice them because just with the amount of mass down here, they're gonna be bottom heavy, which that's okay, it's not bad. It's more like, what do you want with your stick? Do you want something that is completely new age, or do you want something that is an update on a stick that people have used in goaltending for 100 years if we go back to wood sticks? So nothing's right or wrong. I just look at it as two very different approaches. You can see some of the crazy twisted paddle geometry that's exclusive to the Bauer sticks. And again, if you've seen any of the other accounts out there, those guys have the ergo spine, which actually it's thinned out back here and there's a ridge, and that further reduces the weight and increases the balance. And again, it's not to say that it's the correct approach, it's just Bauer's approach, which is different from anybody else's approach in the stick world right now. And it looks like my other assistant, P, came to join us. What's up, P? All right, so the next stick we're gonna look at is the Sherwood Bpm 150. I believe this stick is technically kind of a 2018 release. You can buy it in a store now. Might be embarrassing to say, but I'm at 100% when this came out. Unfortunately, it's not too widely available in the greater Chicago area, but it honestly is a really nice stick. This is made with graphene, which is an industrial material that's used in a lot of other applications, and it's extremely lightweight and extremely durable. So this is infused with graphene, and Sherwood also uses that on their player sticks. This has got my spray-on Rust-Oleum grip coating on it, just because I didn't really like the feel of the glossy Sherwood stick. This has got a modified Russian grip on the end, and of course the black tape bandits down below. So based off the grip weight before, whatever number we get with the Sherwood, we're gonna take about 40 grams off of that. All right, so my scale zeroed out. And as you can see with the more traditional sticks, it's much, much easier to weigh them. So this is coming in at 742 grams. So if we take 40 grams off that, it's gonna be at about 700. So this is pretty much match the weight of the NXG. And I believe if you were to go into a store today and buy a stick, the Sherwood is actually the second lightest stick on the market behind the 1S. And then when the 2S comes out, it's very possible that the Sherwood would be still the second lightest stick on the market. So the Sherwood's honestly a nice stick. I mean, Sherwood unfortunately has been in some financial troubles, been on a little bit of a decline over the last few years, but it doesn't mean that they're not putting out great product anymore. I'm a huge fan of this stick. You can see it's got some some wear on it. And when I picked this up, the first thought is this just feels like a nice stick. It's lightweight. The balance, again, as I mentioned, it feels more like a nice version of a traditional goalie stick versus the Bauer Supreme line has its own unique feel, you know, based on the twisted paddle geometries and really pushing the limits of what's possible with carbon fiber. But anyway, nice stick. And one thing I have to give the Sherwood too, I'm not sure if it's the graphene. So you can see this has an ultra thin paddle on it too. I believe this has probably got the thinnest paddle of any of the sticks we're looking at. Blade is super thin. Is that this thing shoots rebounds off. Much like we hear goalie pad design talking about kicking rebounds out now, and people use materials like Curve or Max Rebound from CCM. Something about this stick that when the puck hits it, you know, somewhere like there, you can see I've got some good marks on the paddle, pucks just fly over the glass with it. And it's really a sneaky feature, which is one of the reasons that before I got the Warrior and the CCM stick, I found myself using the Sherwood stick more and more just because I got really used to the rebounds from my demos and didn't really like putting it down. So one thing that's interesting to note is even though they're about the same weight, just because of the balance point, the Bauer feels lighter in your hand. I don't know if that makes much sense over video, but if you actually pick them up, I think it's just the way the stick's balance. The Bauer feels, balance feels a little bit better on the Bauer, but again, the Sherwood's a nice stick, and when I say balance, it's kind of almost like a weightless feeling, versus the Sherwood will feel more like a traditional goalie stick. So next up is the Warrior, and one thing to note is that you know, I've been going back and forth when I do my demos. I also try different curves, and I try different paddle heights because I'm always trying to dial in my game, you know, and improve and just be the best goalie that I can be out there. So I switched to a 25-inch paddle with the Warrior and the CCM. So again, I think for our purposes today of kind of identifying where people sit on the weight scale and the balance points of the stick, we can accomplish that. But just note that the Warrior and the CCM are an inch shorter paddle. It's gonna have less material here, which is the thicker part of the stick. So that would add more weight to it. So the CCM and the Warrior are just a little tiny bit skewed. So taking a look at the Warrior, this has the butt ends grip on it, and this has the sniper skin hand grip on it. Warrior rail system seems to be nice for sliding your hand up the stick to play the puck, but unfortunately when it comes to holding the stick, it just doesn't have that tacky feel that I got spoiled and used to with the Bauer sticks, and the CCM has it too. So as you can see on my Sherwood and my Warrior, where these sticks don't have that grip, I had to improvise. So I tried a spray-on coating, an at-home DIY mod for the Sherwood, and then this one I shelled out for the sniper skin. So that's pretty much the Warrior, and if you want more in-depth info on the Warrior, check out my other video. All right, so got the scale zeroed out. And remember, we're gonna take about 40 grams off of this because of the butt ends and the sniper skin and the black tape bandits tape. So this is coming in at about 785 grams. So 785 less 40 puts us at 740 grams. So this stick is about 40 grams heavier than the Sherwood, and I think the Bauer came in at 710 from memory, but they're pretty close. And again, the Sherwoods, you know, we're going close guesstimates here because we've got the grips and some tape on them. So, you know, the Warrior stick's coming in at about 40 grams heavier. And some people at home might be questioning how this stick's become so popular in the NHL, given that it's not, you know, the lightest stick on the market by any means. And from what I've heard talking to Warrior, it's a combination of trust in Warrior sticks because they were probably the most popular, if not 100% the most popular foam core when those were out. And just a really nice overall package here where the stick's got really good durability, and it's also got the Vibex anti-dampening technology in it. So the story with the Warrior is more about the total package of the stick. You know, it's not the lightest, but it's just overall got really good durability. Let's talk about the balance on this one. Balance feels okay. Does feel a little bit heavier in my hand than the Sherwood, just going back to back to back with these sticks, but not bad by any means. But the balance is pretty good. Even though it feels a tad heavier, it does have a nice balance to it. And this is the Mrazek, which is similar to the old Warrior retail, or excuse me, the old CCM retail price. And the CCM stick we'll look at in a couple minutes is actually the Pro Stock price version. So this has a round toe, and this is a Lie 14 versus the newer price has a square toe, and that's a Lie 12 stick. Lie is something that we don't talk about too much anymore with sticks, which is kind of crazy to me because, that can really affect, if this is, the ice, the edge of my couch, the lie is going to kind of change how your stick interacts with the ice, and thus it's going to change your hand placement and your stance. You might end up, if your hand wins with your stick like that, or if you focus too much on resting your blade flat on the ice, it might put your blocker out in a position you're not comfortable to in our stances. So I find that kind of crazy that we don't talk about lies too much anymore. So I commend Warrior for putting that right out there so people know. And one of the other great things as a consumer about buying the Warrior is that you can customize this stick. You can customize the colors. You can pick between a few different patterns and change the paddle height. Versus, unfortunately, that would be my biggest knock on the Bauer product right now, is that they're only offering one curve. I think we talked to Bauer, it probably has something to do with the volume of sales they have, and that the P31 is bar none their best seller, that it just made sense to streamline the product offering. But the more I get to test equipment and learn about it, I'm starting to find that, even though that's the most popular, it may not be the perfect setup for me. So that's one of the reasons I look to the Warrior and I look to the CCM, is that I've got a lot more options. And even the Sherwood, I've got 2 curves, but you're gonna have 3 or 4 with both the Warrior and the CCM stick. One other interesting note too that cannot be overlooked is price points. So the Bauer Supreme line, again, it's the lightest stick on the market. It's the most engineered, and they're able to command a little bit higher price for that. So in US dollars, the Supreme sticks, the high-end ones, usually sell for about $300. The Warrior stick is about $200 USD. I believe the Premier 2 is going to be somewhere, not 100%, but I want to say between $200 and $250, so at least $50 cheaper than the Supreme stick. If not, like the Warrior, it could be a whole 100 less. We'll need to see that when it comes out. And then the Sherwood stick is available for $220. So even though you're not getting the lightest stick on the market, you're getting sticks that are pro level, used in the NHL or pro hockey, like the BPMs are used in Russia. And you're saving yourself some money too. So keep in mind, if you're chasing, you want the lightest stick, you want something that almost feels like you're not holding a stick, the Bauer line is the stick for you, but it's going to cost a bit more money. If you want a stick that feels a little bit more like a traditional stick in your hand, where you'll feel the paddle a little bit more, maybe you like that weight there, the Warrior, the CCM, the Sherwood, all could be good options for you. And the weights will be just a touch heavier, but they'll be much lighter on your checkbook, just because, again, they're anywhere from, say, $50 to $100 cheaper. So we'll do the CCM last. So the next thing we're going to do is go through and look at the Bauer 1S, which is the king of lightest stick on the market. And I believe the Bauer marketing literature says 10% lighter for the 2S. So I've heard different stories about how much lighter it actually is. I had the pleasure of holding the 2S stick. It is noticeably lighter in your hand. I was able to go side by side with 1S, 2S, and it is way lighter. But again, weight may not be everything, so it just kind of depends on what you're looking for in a stick. So this has the big checkered patterns on this. This is Bauer's Textreme Fiber. One of their sneaky features too in the Bauer lines I like, as you can hear it, there's almost like a sandpaper-like feel down at the stick blade, and it helps the tape, I think, adhere to the stick a little bit more, give it a little bit nicer feel. So that's another sneaky feature that I tend to notice. And I'm a huge fan, again, of the rubberized grip with the tactile feel there. I just think it makes it so nice. You can gas the tape there. I find you have better feel with the stick doing that. And tape, believe it or not, can actually wear out your blocker palms, so it's better for your palms to go with the rubberized coating. So I'm a huge fan of it. And then for any tendies out there that don't like it, just throw your tape over it, and it should feel like a traditional stick. All right, so just waiting for the scale. And then as mentioned before, the Bauers with the unique paddle shape usually take a second just to kind of get them set up on the scale. So yeah, it almost feels weightless in your hand. So, they're the number one sticks in the market, I think, because people do like the lightweight feel of them. The durability is really good, but that's not to say that it is the right stick for everybody. And that's kind of what we're going through today to look at these. So if we take a look at Bauer 2, and I mentioned a moment ago kind of where they maximize the design possibilities, you'll see they've got these unique sweeping curves on the Supreme line. That's one of the reasons I think that the balance is there. And the Supreme sticks are always just interesting because they almost feel weightless in your hand versus some of the other sticks we'll look at feel a little bit more like a traditional stick where you'll feel the blade a little bit more. And there are some goalies that will want to feel the blade. So absolutely, it's worth noting that it kind of depends on what you're looking for in a stick. Secondly, we're all consumers here. We're buying our sticks. We cannot forget price comes into play here. The current Bauer 1S stick sells for about $300. I believe the 2S will come in at the same, or it could even be a couple bucks more, versus the Warrior sticks, $200. The Sherwood Bpm 150 is about $220, and the CCM Premier 2, I don't have pricing yet, unfortunately, but we'll say that's going to be $250 or less. If they keep it where like the Premier Plus was, we'll be down around $200 for that. So for some of these other sticks we're going to look at today, they'll be anywhere from $100 to $50, worst case scenario, less than the Bauer. So it's one of the things you need to kind of weigh out is if you want to have the lightest stick on the market, you just got to be comfortable paying for it, versus some of these other sticks might save you a few bucks. They might weigh a little bit more, but they may have the right performance for you. They may have the right feel, because all of these are pro level sticks. The Warrior Cr1 is really taking the NHL by storm this year. All the CCM guys converted to the Premier 2, and they even picked up a couple goalies. Neuwirth recently switched to a CCM stick. Holtby, who wasn't a composite user before, switched to the Premier 2. Gibson switched to the Premier 2. So they got a lot of goalies using those. So just because they're not the lightest, don't sleep on it being like an NHL level stick, a pro level stick, because they all have their strengths and their weaknesses, and that's really what we're profiling in this video. So next up, we'll take a look at the Bpm 150. So unfortunately, Sherwood used to be the kings of the goalie stick game, and just due to some kind of hardships and a little bit of the company tapering off, recently got acquired by Canadian Tire actually, I think people sleep on Sherwood, but this is honestly a really nice stick. We can take a look and see the paddles there. This has graphene infused with it, which is an engineering material that's used in a lot of other industrial applications. I know like the automotive industry is constantly looking at it. So it's a real material that's used in other applications. And the beauty of graphene is that it's super light and super durable. So infusing that in here is going to allow them to make a light stick that's also very durable. And believe it or not, Sherwood is the second lightest stick on the market right now. So that's where I say, if you haven't kind of kept up with Sherwood, it's really not a bad stick. And again, when we review price points, very competitively priced too. So let's throw this on the scale. So we're coming in at about 740 grams, and given we know there's a knob and tape in the spray grip, we'll say that we can take about 40 grams off that. So this stick weighs about 700 grams. So this is the only stick right now on the market, I believe, that's lighter than the NXG, and this will come in second place of any of the sticks I believe we'll test today. Got to double check the Premier 2, so I can't quite remember the weight on that. That'll be a little bit of a fun spoiler for us later on. So we talk about the balance of the Sherwood. It feels good. I mean, it feels light in my hand after just having held the NXG. The NXG, even though it's a tad heavier, feels lighter in my hand just because I think it's that Bauer blade design gets the weight out of it. But generally speaking, it's just a really nice stick. I mean, it feels a little bit more like a goalie stick in the sense of the foam core, but it's like just the maximum lightweight potential of what that stick design is. Durability's been great. My only knock on this is just the coating is slippery, and I got spoiled with those rubberized coatings that are on the CCMs and the Bauers that I love, so I added my own spray grip. Pretty easy to apply. And then this one's got a modified Russian grip on it. So anyway, Sherwood stick, again, it's coming in at 700 grams. Next up is a stick that has its whole other video on my YouTube channel or thegoalnet.com you can check out. That is the Warrior Cr1 Stick. This stick has taken the NHL by storm this year, and that's why after seeing so many guys convert either to this Warrior stick that were already using composites or out of foam core Warrior sticks into the composite version, I had to cave and try one myself. So a couple things to note too before we weigh this one. This has got the Black Tape Bandits tape job on it. It's got the sniper skin grip. I was trying this on the Warrior stick as opposed to my spray-on coating. And this has the butt ends grip on it. So again, we're probably gonna need to take about 40 grams off this one, and there is its whole own other video on YouTube, so you can check the weights out on this stick. So the Warrior's coming in at about 783 grams. So for easy math, we take 40 off that, we'll call that 740 grams. And what's also interesting to note is that as I get the opportunity to demo equipment or I buy equipment because I want to test it, I do change up my curve and my paddle height because I like trying different things. So the Warrior stick is a 25-inch paddle as well, which theoretically should make it a little bit lighter because it's going to have less mass in this area. And this is actually coming in, might be the heaviest stick I think that we'll weigh today, but that's not really the story with the Cr1. As I said earlier, this thing's literally taken the NHL by storm and is probably the equipment story of 2018 in the NHL. And the reason the Warrior guys tell me that it's done so well is that people trust Warrior and sticks. You know, they were one of the top, if not the top, foam core stick provider before that. They've got really good ability to turn around custom patterns. But lastly, overall, it's just like a solid stick in a lot of different ways. Again, when we talk about this, going to feel in your hand more like a foam core. So you'll notice the paddle a little bit more, and it's just going to feel like a super light foam core. So you are saving weight versus some of those. The durability is supposed to be great. You know, I've only used this stick for a few skates, but the durability has been good. Not too many nasty scratches or gashes on this thing. It's also got the Vibex in it, so that'll dampen shots is what that technology is supposed to do. So the overall story with the Warrior is just kind of the package of durability, trust in the stick's brand name, custom options for patterns, colors, curves, and those are available at retail as well. You can customize your Warrior stick with the color and pattern that you want. And that's one thing that unfortunately a lot of sticks have gone away from, is also promoting the lie. So I really commend Warrior for putting that on the stick, just basically because, you know, if we look at the couch edge, there's the ice. You know, if I hold my stick blade perfectly flat here, that's going to put my hand in a certain position of my stance. And if the lie isn't good for me, but I want to put my hand in a certain position, I turn it like that. Now my stick blade's off the ice. We obviously don't make a lot of saves, if any, standing up anymore and not moving. But it is still something to consider that the stick lie angle can dramatically change your hand position. So I love that Warrior posts that on their sticks. But yeah, so when we talk about the Warrior, you know, the pluses on it are the price point for sure, the overall package of the stick. It's got a nice balance to it, good durability, the Vibex technology, and then the customization. Unfortunately, Bauer's only doing the P31 at retail these days. So even though that's probably their best-selling curve, and due to the high demand of their sticks, you know, they're probably consolidating models to get the throughput of manufacturing where they need it to be. If you're not familiar with it, the more variables you have, so in this case, models of different curves, the more complex it is on the manufacture of the stick versus if you go down to just one curve, now you only have one pattern to produce. It's way easier to keep up with high demand. But at the same point as a consumer, if you don't like a P31, definitely a reason to look elsewhere. So again, the combinations of curve options and customization is one of the reasons the Warrior stick's been so popular. So next up is the 1S. Before I started doing the GoalNet, the NXGs and the 1Ss were my favorite sticks, but given the opportunity, I've had to demo some stuff and then also bought some stuff for the sake of creating content. I've tried a lot more sticks. You know, it's too early to tell with the Warrior and the CRM. You know, this video is a preview, it's not a review, not to be confused at all. So those sticks both seem really nice. And it's also a preference things where I've used this style stick for like 4+ years that, you know, I'm kind of used to them somewhat. But this again, I mean, it just feels freakishly light in your hand. The balance is there. The balance is there in kind of an unusual way, in the sense that like the paddle almost feels like it's not on the stick. And this too has the large square pattern on it for the Cr1 carbon fiber-like material. And one of the other sneaky features on the Bauer, you can hear it and you don't hear it there, is there's a texture on the blade. I believe that's there to help the stick adhere to it, and in my opinion it works really, really well. So it's just a subtle feature that I really like on the Bauer. So Bauer 1S is the lightest stick on the market today, and the 2S, which replaces it, is supposed to be lighter. I believe the marketing verbiage says 10%, but I've also heard the number of 30 grams. So I'm not 100% sure where that is, but you can check out some of the other goalie accounts which do have the 2S stick right now. But if we take a look, this is coming in at about 680 grams. So that is 30 grams lighter than the NXG. And the 2S, you know, is going to be somewhere, I mean, around, you know, 650 grams maybe. If it's 30 grams like I've heard, or if it's 10% like I thought I read in the marketing verbiage, you know, then we're looking at 60 grams. I think thinking about it logically, the 30 grams number is probably a bit more correct. But anyway, bar none, the lightest stick on the market. Our Sherwood was our second place competitor right now at 700 grams. And the 1S came in, you know, about 20 grams and some change under that. And again, I'm using round numbers because they are grams. This is a basic scale. Some have tape, some don't, some have knobs. So just trying to use round numbers for, you know, ease of following the video. So we've talked a lot about other sticks. What we haven't talked about yet too much is the CCM Premier 2. So first things first, I love the pattern on this stick. And when I say the pattern, I'm talking about the curve, the lie on this. So this is actually a lie 12 stick. As I mentioned, kudos to Warrior for publishing that. I had to reach out to CCM to find out, but this is a lie 12 stick. This is the Carey Price. I believe this is his current pro stock stick. So there's the curve, and it's got the square toe. This is a 25-inch paddle. So for me, literally the second I got on the ice with it, it was just kind of like, holy shit, this is what I've been looking for in a stick curve. My hand just sits so perfectly in my stance, and I feel way more comfortable moving around the net. And it's one of those things that I didn't necessarily think I had a problem with any of the other sticks, but I kind of left wanting to tinker, and that's why I started off with a different curve on the Sherwood versus the P31 Bauer. And then when I went to the Warrior, I went down to the smaller paddle size. And this 25-inch lie 12, again, I believe this is the Carey Price Pro Stock stick, square toe. This thing just sits phenomenally in your stance. So first and foremost, the pattern of this stick just has me sold, just in the sense that I love this pattern. If this pattern were available in other sticks, it would be way easier to compare apples to apples. But I feel a little bit blinded right now just because I felt so good in the net lately, just because of how this stick sets my stick. But anyway, enough about how great the pattern is. Let's focus on the stick itself. So I think anybody that used the previous CCM Premier or is using a traditional shaped paddle stick is really going to enjoy this stick. So it's light. We'll throw it on the scale in a little bit and see how it shapes up in terms of being, you know, in the running for lightest traditionally shaped paddle stick on the market. But this is upgraded in the sense that it's going to be lighter than the original Premier with the whole use of all the Sigmatex fibers. It's going to be more durable as well. And it's got, you know, good solid balance. So if we take a look at, you know, anytime a stick comes out, if it's getting lighter, you know, maintains good balance and it's getting more durable, that's going to be a home run. So let's throw this on the scale and see what we're coming in at. So this is coming in at about 750 grams. So if we take 40 off that and keep it at round numbers, we're at about 710 grams. So it's right in the ballpark of the NXG and the Sherwood. I believe the Sherwood was coming in at 700 even. But again, it's a little bit tough, you know, with the tape, the grips and whatnot, but you know, it's within 10 grams, if not being the lightest traditionally shaped stick on the market. So huge kudos to CCM for pulling that off, being able to maintain traditional paddle shape that people love. and getting that lightweight design. And again, I think this could be a huge upgrade for anybody that used the previous Premier or wants to maintain the traditional paddle shape. You're gonna get really good balance with it. You're gonna get the good durability from the Sigma-Tex fibers. And again, you're gonna have a lot of nice retail curve options between the Price, the Luongo, the Crawford, some of the sticks you'd expect. And lastly, it's gonna come in at a price point lower than the most expensive stick on the market. So great value. And we'll make some more content with this moving forward and let you know how the durability holds up and how I find this stick more over more. But again, right now, stick seems awesome to me. A lot of that is the pattern, but again, it's got the traditional shape and the really good weighting. So stay tuned.